Radio Land. You're listening to The Cutting Edge right here on Edge Radio Network. I am your host, Al Roundtree, a.k.a. Tree, a.k.a. Mr. Social Baby, and thanks for joining us for our Talk on Tuesdays. I'm still trying to get used to that name. Talk on Tuesdays, right? Because everybody says Taco Tuesday. We talking on Tuesdays. Talk on Tuesday.
I like it.
It's the play. You know what I mean? So that's the move we're making, man. We're trying to make some adjustments. And our host today comes in. I'm glad somebody on my level of conversation. I hope I'm joking. Chris Jenkins from Wiseline. Senior client manager over there with them. And Wiseline, for those who don't know, is basically a tech development company. You guys help people develop platforms and so
all kinds of digital products. Anything that you would consider a product, from like cloud migration, mobile applications, websites. Everything is Salesforce integration.
So you can't say stuff like cloud migration, man. A lot of people they have no idea.
That's right.
You know what I mean? They have no idea what you're talking about when you reference a point like that.
Yeah. So essentially, cloud is no longer a buzzword where everybody understands that data exists there. Mm-hmm. And companies exist on the cloud now because of unless you are a very secure industry like financial, mm-hmm. where you need to be on premises, mm-hmm. because you can control it, you can lock it, you know exactly where your server is. But outside of that, the cheaper option is cloud. So if we have two large companies, like for example, we did our migration for Disney, mm-hmm. and when they bought Fox Corp, all of the records, the digital movies, TV shows, everything needed to be migrated over from Fox into a Disney cloud. Okay. And so we did that server. Took 4 or 5 months to get it done, but that's kind of what we're talking about, the secure network, right, from a cloud migration, as well as just stuff.
Right. Now, for those is that where, in part where we get the Disney, what is it, Disney Plus? Yeah,
in part, right? So Disney Plus runs on about 4 different servers, mm-hmm. AWS, Google, and some others. And all the people that are streaming it, however many hours a day, mm-hmm. all have to be hosted, right? And that's where the cloud is, right? Absolutely. And so Amazon's making a killing with lining Jeff Bezos.
Oh yeah, I know. I absolutely could believe they charge me every month, so I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
But you can't give it up.
No, you can't. You can't. You can't let it go.
1 day delivery, 2 day delivery.
You can't let it go. Now, so you've been in the tech business for how long?
Yeah, tech total for about 5 or 6 years, and then I took a stint out and went into management consulting. So I was doing a lot of corporate strategy things, talking to suits. Okay. And I did that for 3 years, and then came back into tech recently this year. Okay. Just a more lucrative place to be. Okay. Less stress. People are very
on the tech side.
On the tech side, yeah. Far mm-hmm. less stress. Mm-hmm. Working with engineers, a lot lower maintenance, right, mm-hmm. as well. And so it's been good for both my personal, as well as just the work-life balance, having one in that, working 80, 90-hour weeks in management consulting. And it's also an industry that is essentially recession-proof to an extent now. Okay. Like, for example, with COVID and everything that's happening now, a lot of people mm-hmm. are going through issues with layoffs and mm-hmm. losing customers, losing mm-hmm. clients, and it's a very unfortunate situation. But just last quarter, we had the second highest grossing quarter in company history.
Oh, wow.
And it's in large part because so many things are going digital
Absolutely.
Now, right?
Exactly.
And so smart CTOs see it, and they're saying, okay, how can I get ahead of the game? Mm-hmm. How can I get the ball rolling now, while we have the bandwidth to work on some of these additional projects that were quote unquote side projects before, and now have taken priority. So it's been great coming back into tech, because even before I was a management consultant, I was at IBM for 3 years and did a lot of mobile device management stuff. IT strategy, and that you could kind of see where it was going from a cognitive computing standpoint. So talking about things like IBM Watson and Cortana,
I get it.
and now that
All these
technology
operating
powers
systems.
it powers Siri,
Right.
and that technology powers Amazon Alexa,
Right.
So you could see where it was going then, and then when I stepped away, it was just to learn how business works. How do I grow revenue? How do you do these things? What is a corporate strategy, right? And why is it important? And now I can come back and apply both worlds.
I got you.
Try to be unstoppable. Yeah.
Absolutely. So given that experience on both sides of the coin, where do you see, things trending? Obviously right now, kind of given COVID, like you're right, like everything is taking more of a digital presence, whether you like it or not. I mean, there's a lot more online deliveries. There's, people shopping, buying more online, really because we can't, at one time you weren't supposed to go anywhere. You couldn't leave home or whatever. So obviously people got busy in terms of the online activity, that sort of thing. Even from, getting together socially online and stuff like that more. People are just using those platforms a lot more. Where do you see, like in a year from now, where do you think that will play in the grand scheme of things, given kind of just what we're going through at this moment?
Yeah, so from a B2B, like business to business standpoint, if you don't have a strong online presence, now you're hurting. Next year, if you don't have an interactive online presence, you will be lost. So your customers have to be able to engage, get everything that they need without ever dialing numbers on the phone, right? And then also you have to be able to tell them what they need before they know it, right? So things like Instagram ads, Facebook ads, push notifications are going to be huge, and there already are today, right? You can think that Instagram is listening because they are. If you start talking,
all of them are listening,
right?
All of them are listening. Let's just be clear. Everybody's listening to you. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, data's $1 trillion business.
Absolutely.
So if I know that you're planning a trip to Bora Bora and I'm Instagram and I can send an automatic feed to the 15 travel agents in your area, they can get an Instagram ad to you in 30 seconds. Why wouldn't it be the case? So if you are a business, you have to be on that wave. Otherwise, you're just going to lose inbound leads without ever knowing that they were leads. So that's one big thing for next year. And then from an overall kind of consumer tech space, a lot of people do ask about that. One of the big things that we knew 4 years ago was the cognitive and the voice recognition was going to be huge.
Right.
Now we know that peer-to-peer communication from product standpoint is going to be huge. So your refrigerator is going to be able to talk to your stove, which is going to be able to talk to your microwave. Cars are going to be talking to each other on the road. Don't hit me, you're crossing over into this lane, right? And you're talking about now Tesla has, a range of almost 500 miles for a self-driving car. The thing that's going to make it safe is Tesla cars are going to be able to speak to other cars and understand where they are in that equation. When you're running low on groceries, your refrigerator is going to be able to take a picture, understand that the weight where the milk is running low, and it's going to be able to talk to your phone to add it to your shopping list. So that's the next wave.
Man, while all that sounds amazing and great, the tech part of you really gets excited, because I always, you said so much that I want to dive into.
Sure.
Just be real. But for me, the tech part, because I'm in tech, so my own company, Social Bevy, it's a tech platform,
right?
And I love the benefit of technology. So a lot of the things that you're talking about, to me, it sounds cool. It's great to think about when you think about all of those things, and you see, how stuff is trending already. Like you see the refrigerators where you could push a button, you can look inside, you don't got to open the door no more. Like, oh, okay, we're out of this, or you know what I mean? Like, you got smart refrigerators now. You have smart appliances. You do have, like you just talked about, a lot of different appliances and electronics within the home, communicating with one another from one aspect or another. They're all working in that way. I would love to get your take on this, being that you're so heavy in it.
Okay.
My fear with technology, as great as it is, it's almost to me, it is really getting rid of, it's making man almost obsolete, in my opinion. Like, because, like, one, you know, with technology now today, I mean, we just proved it through these last 4 months. You can live in your house, in your dwelling, and never leave.
Never leave.
Right? And get everything that you need to exist, right? You're going to get paid. They're going to direct deposit your money. You can work at home. You can, you know, see your friends on videos. You can, you know, whatever. And for me, not just in that, but in terms of application, in terms of work, you know, just things that we used to do, while there may be some areas it was good, that maybe a person or woman is not doing that particular thing that a machine is. I always think about how it just seems like there's just gonna be less opportunity for a man. Like one, you're gonna see people, you know, health is already an issue, especially in our country, right? Obesity and things like that. I just see it rising even more.
Yeah.
Because of the benefits of what technology does. So at that cost, is it a benefit?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think that there's a seesaw, right? And so if you look at just from the beginnings of America or even the world, every generation had to deal with something becoming obsolete. If you think about it, farmers, right? When machinery took that next level, then that erased farmers. And what did their kids do? They just found something else to do. And other passions opened up. Whereas they were pigeonholed to this role because they were born to a farmer. Now they're able to maybe become a pianist, maybe become an instrumentist, whatever they want to do. And I think that that's something similar that tech is going to do to society. People are just going to, where they were forced to go do a specific job, they're going to have to learn and adapt and have different skills. And also technology opens up those roles as well. If you think about coding, and like, for example, with Black Girls Code, just 5 years ago, that was something that was a thought or just an idea. Maybe we can get some people into the STEM industry and create more engineers. And now there's waiting lists to get into these systems in very rural areas of the country that never even thought about this being an option. So I just think that people even have the ability to learn that skill a lot easier than they did before. So for every machine that goes into a factory, someone has to monitor it. There has to be maintenance. There has to be security. Somebody has to code it to build it. And it's just shifting the job from, I'm no longer putting a windshield wiper on a car on an assembly line. Instead, I'm maybe taking maintenance on the machine that does it. Right. And so I just think that technology is here to make our lives easier. It's just about the adoption curve. Right? You have your early innovators who are always going to be there, and then your laggards, and we'll get there at some point. But
see, that's to your point about Black Girls Code and that. But that's my thing. Like when you talk about that, you talk about the evolution, basically, of our way of life. Through technology and stuff like that. And you're right. Yes, there are going to be more jobs, and people are going to adapt to this new way of living, or adapt to a new potential opportunity and that sort of thing. My concern is the lack of access to the less fortunate folks who don't know or don't have, especially in minority communities where you don't have a lot of access. Like even right now, one of the big things with they're talking about the online schooling and stuff like that. Right. And when they were talking about COVID, was the lack of access for kids, the underprivileged kids, being able to have internet at home or have computers or laptops at home. And so now, now we're talking about curbing it again. Well, not again, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen whether we like it or not. And I understand how important it is for us to do that for our young people and in our communities. But, it's still such a large gap, right?
Yeah, and it's unfortunately I don't have a good answer for it because it's always going to be there. It may not be that our lower class citizens are deprived from it, but they're just using technology that's behind.
Yeah, and outdated for sure.
Right, and it's significantly unfortunate because we want, in America we preach an idea that you can just do it without taking into effect the socioeconomic status of how you're born and how much that dictates what you can and can't do in your life. And so, but we have this huge middle class where a lot of countries just only have the haves and the have-nots. And what can happen is the middle class can reach down to help more, and that's what companies are doing. I see it more now with the social justice issues, that companies are just interested in understanding how they can help. And what really needs to happen is, I've had a conversation where sometimes it's not about always reaching down. It's about reaching to the middle, pulling some people that came from down there up, because now they're executives and they can make actual change where it needs to be made, versus only being able to ask for the money to make that change. So I don't have a good answer, but I would say that right. It's just like, I don't have a good answer.
To be honest with you, there is no definitive answer. Let's just be clear, right?
Can't be, right?
Right. I don't think there's one specific thing. There's going to be one person going to come up with one answer. This is not what it is. This just be real. But I just think it's such an interesting, dynamic, kind of given where we are, and especially where you've been in the tech business for a while. You've seen some things. You've been on different sides of this fence. How prominent, or how big or how much of an impact have you seen with minorities in the industry and the businesses that you encounter yourself? Like even within Wiseline, I mean, is there a large demographic of African Americans, or I know that they use a lot of which everybody does. They use a lot of engineering offshore and stuff like that, which is fine. We all do that, right? But what percentage would you say of the business, not just Wiseline, but I'm saying of the industry and on the tech side, from what you've seen, has African American community played in that?
Yeah, for blacks it's very low, and it's because in tech you can get away with diversity numbers that include everyone. But when you bifurcate it out and you see the Indian population, the Latino population inside of there, and the Asian population inside of it, that makes up 95% of the minority population. So companies in Silicon Valley can say we have 40% women, we have 45-60% diversity, non-white, but when you peel back the layers, it's 2-3% black.
Right.
And I think that there's a high barrier of entry in the hiring practices in a lot of these organizations. Everybody wants to go to Microsoft. Everybody wants to go to IBM, right? And when I was coming out of business school, that was just it. Oh, you got an interview with Microsoft? Oh man, it didn't matter who you were. That's just what you wanted to do.
Right.
But also there's nepotism, there's recommendations. That's how you get into these companies. You have to know someone who fills out a recommendation or personally prints out your resume, goes to HR and says, hey, track this person, this is the job role, have them come interview. Because being in a leadership position, I can do that.
Right.
And now I was like, wait a second, that's how y'all been doing this for these years?
Right. Well, that's how they do it across industry. But go ahead.
Right. And even at my last company, it was to the point where almost 85% of our hires were from recommendations, employee recommendations, to the point where they had a contest for the employees where you got a $15,000 trip for the most people that you recommend get to hire.
Wow.
And needless to say, I was one of only 2 black people in the organization.
Wow.
So who's coming in the door? It's just the only people that I'm recommending. Right. And then and there's always this stigma inside of tech and inside of black tech that you have to be overqualified to get certain positions in certain roles. You have to go in at a level below to prove yourself, and then you can start making inroads. And that's really the big problem.
Right. Wow.
How do we fix it? You just have to have more black executives.
Exactly. That's just the only way we got to get in.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be, in sports, right? They talk about the feeder system. If there are, assistant GMs that are black who are never going to come to a GM level, if there are even just runners, right, that are able to talk to the GMs, talk to the assistant GM, ask them how they got to where they're going. If there's not that feeder system, then it's never going to happen, because you're not going to. It's very rare that you are going to be a qualified black executive that gets hired into that role without having done some level of footwork.
Right, absolutely.
They're also older.
Absolutely.
Right? Like
absolutely.
I forget the numbers, but the average age of a black executive, or the average tenure for a black executive at that company, is almost double, because they've paid their dues to get there. And so inside of tech, we have not done a good job with blacks in tech. And more blacks are taking the startup route and understanding that place, but they can't get funding.
Right.
They can't go to the VCs.
Don't get me started there.
Right?
I know the journey all too well, because I lived it, and I'm still living it. Right. So I definitely know the story of how that goes.
It's a mass catch-22. It's like, okay, I want to go work here. You're not going to let me work here. Let me go do my own thing. But I can't do my own thing because you don't trust me to do my own thing, because I've never worked there.
Right. Right. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. You talk about that. I remember, just kind of using your example, having interviews, with companies after I got done playing football, using my experience, having my own businesses a little bit and doing some other stuff, and then retiring from football and deciding to get into the job force and walking to people, and they'd be like, man, you seem qualified, but I'm like, like you said, you won't give me the opportunity because I don't have the experience, but I can't get the experience if you don't give me the opportunity. Like, what do I do? Right? Like,
it's crazy, man. I had a mentor. So I went to Clemson for undergrad, and
what year were you in?
I was there from 06 to 10.
Okay.
And then went to Florida for grad school for a year, and I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go to business school. And I had a mentor tell me, he said, go to a top 20 private school. And I shut it all down and trust this man with my life. Sure, it makes sense. So I went to Notre Dame. The day I got into Notre Dame, he called me, and I was like, yeah, bro, I got into Notre Dame, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you don't know it yet, but your life just changed. And I said, okay. Interested, I'm waiting to find out. Go through the courses, go through the coursework, get my first job. But then every opportunity I've had since has been solely because of Notre Dame. And because now they see me as a domer, right? It's a nomenclature. You're one of us. Whereas how many very smart, capable people that I went to Clemson with, just a state school in South Carolina, very good engineering school, don't have these types of opportunities because their donors aren't Notre Dame donors. They haven't been born and bred through that Catholic system. They weren't born with money. They didn't, now all of these guys are top executives, and they look for themselves and people they're bringing up. And what's the one connection I have? Oh, I was able to get in and go to the school they love. And so without that piece, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to talk about these things or have access or talk to CEOs. And when I was in management consulting, it's a funny line. House of Lies by Don Cheadle. Watch it if you haven't seen it. Great show.
House of Lies by Don Cheadle.
It's on Showtime, but it's a show about management consulting. And he has a line when he was talking to one of the black Harvard grad students who was graduating and trying to get into the number 2 consulting firm in the world. And he says, what's the first thing you do when you go talk to a CEO? And the guy's talking about, saying all the right things that a traditional white person would do. And he was like, no, the first thing you need to do is understand how he responds to you being black. If he's very nervous, feels guilty, then you have him around your finger because he doesn't want to be conceived as a racist. If he doesn't like black people, you need to step out of the way and let somebody else run this project. Or if he doesn't trust you fully, you need to figure out how to qualify yourself. And I had to do a lot of that, right? Where you go in and you're saying, yes, I went to Notre Dame. Yes, I did this project at Phillips 66. I worked with Exxon. I worked with Microsoft, you name it. Or I used to work at IBM, whereas my coworkers would come in with that credibility. So it's just, if you haven't been fortunate enough to have, gotten into a place where you can tap into the good old boy network a little bit, then it's going to be very difficult. And that's that's the sad part about a lot of it.
Man, you know, you just brought up another point, an interesting point that a guest of ours, a friend of mine by the name of Colin Davis, talked about. He's in the financial industry. And basically he was just talking about how, you know, every day as a black man in corporate America, you know, we have to wear this body armor almost every day, daily, that you have to go. And what you just kind of described to me was your own body armor, or, you know, in that example with Don Cheadle, like you gotta, to have to go in and not be able to just go in and know that I'm going in to have this meeting, to have this conversation about whatever, whether it was a job interview or whether it was about a project or whatever, that I can't just go in and just strictly just be focused on this project. I got to go in and think about, like you said, how is he responding? You know, is he acting nervous? Does he, you know, even want to talk to me? Does he blah, blah, blah? Am I going to mess this up for my company? Like, that is an amazing thing for us to have to tackle. Even for you, I mean, just walking indoors now, that you gotta subconsciously think about that
all the time.
But
it's different because we've always subconsciously thought about it. Right?
That's true.
Like, I was born and raised in South Carolina. It's literally going into the grocery store. You have to think about who's here, or how they're going to perceive my actions. You know, am I doing too much? And I was just talking to my girlfriend. I said, you speed, I don't speed, because I'm scared to get pulled over because I don't know what's going to happen. And that's a real fear for a lot of very corporate black males. And I don't think that a lot of our coworkers should truly just understand that we live with this burden all day, every day. This isn't something that happens when we see a video of an unarmed black man getting killed.
Right.
We felt this way 4 years ago when we saw Upton Singer. It's just now that you're catching up to how we're feeling today, and you're listening. I tried to tell you back then. I don't know what changed now, but I'm happy you're listening. Now let me tell you how I have to remove this cover and let you see the real me. One of the biggest things I hate hearing, where I would get, like, from classmates and different things, I wish there were more black people like you.
What? Okay.
You know, and it's just a thing where they've been taught or have only seen certain imagery, whether it's in music, entertainment, or just in the hood. Right. And so when you see someone that you respect, you're now looking at this person in a different light. So hopefully I just tell them to think about everybody like you think about me. And that will help you change your unintended biases, right? Because that's what a lot of people have. And it's bringing it back full circle. In tech, that's, if you're Asian or Indian, you're perceived to be smart because of how you were raised. You understand numbers. Like, there's so much research around how schooling in Asian communities, even going down to the language, right, gives them an inherent advantage in mathematics. So everyone knows this. Executives know this. And so you're perceived as able to get the job done, whereas our stereotypes are far more negative. Right. They're things you have to overcome.
Right. So what do you think, like, you know, I want to know, what do you think about why you just talked about how, you know, the difference of, you know, folks listening 4 years ago versus them absolutely listening now, you know, why that is, and what caused, you know, this change of that, you know, perception, or not even perception, just being openness to receive kind of the message now, where 4 years ago they weren't. And we'll get into that a little bit. We're going to take a quick break. Everybody, we're going to be right back. You listen to The Cutting Edge right here on Edge Radio Network.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness will strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
We work our whole life. Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446.
All right, we're back. Welcome back to the Cutting Edge right here on Edge Radio Network. Thank you for our listeners on 1540 AM and 101.7 on the FM dial right here in Houston. Guys, feel free to give us a call. It's been an awesome conversation with my man Chris Jenkins from Wiseline.
Yeah.
And you can call us at 281-587-1540. That's 281-587-1540. We're talking tech, the business of tech, the industry, how it's impacted the culture, how our culture is impacting tech and all of that, and it's been a real great conversation, man. And right before we went to break, we were talking about, really how with the cultural crisis that the country is in now, how, a lot of people who are not black are now really listening to the cries that we've been making for, let's just say, since, before for 400 years, I guess, really through civil rights and all of those things. But they're now finally catching the attention of people who aren't black. And, what I wanted to ask you, what I asked you before going in the break was, what are your thoughts on why that has changed? So you said, use an example of saying 4 years ago, I was saying this very same thing that I'm saying today, but today you hear me. So what made them, in your opinion, what made them hear you now or hear us now versus, you know, any other time before this year?
Yeah, I would say less divided attention, right? And also, in bringing it back to the tech space, also technology, to the point where our mobile devices are the most powerful things that we have on us at any time, at any given day. And they're, you know, one phone, a lot of people don't understand it, but there's more technology and power in one phone than than was used to send the first rocket to the moon today. So there's power in the technology, there's power in the voice, the social voice, and it was just a perfect storm with George Floyd because it was excessive force, right? There was no gray area, whereas every person that I talked to about all of the other instances, you could say, yeah, but.
Yeah.
And it's like, this was clearly excessive. 8 minutes is excessive. I saw it clearly. I heard everything else that was going around clearly because of this cell phone. And then the social media networks, because we have undivided attention, there's no sports. You know, we didn't just go right into the NBA finals. I wish I could have seen LeBron, but you couldn't. There was no drama at work. There was no date night. There was nothing else but you and your phone and the four walls in your house. And if you lived alone, like I did at the time, you literally are doing nothing but scrolling, looking, and in your head. And I think that perfect storm allowed people to say, oh, wait a second. Is this what you guys have been saying this whole time? Let's talk. And I think people, especially in corporate world, they don't understand, and companies don't understand the inherent biases against Black, brown, women, you name it, because it's ingrained into the system, from hiring practices like we just talked about to, you know, if you're giving you have a full staff of recruiters, but you're giving employees $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 rewards for bringing in their friends,
right,
and your employees are already, you know, majority white, then
right,
what's going to come?
Right.
And then also promotions, also performance reviews, how those are structured. Are they structured against your company values? Is there a point system that's clearly identified? Or is it largely subjective based on the manager? Right? Those things create barriers for minorities. Because minorities will go into work, I don't got time for it today. I wish I could have called out Black. I don't feel like talking to you.
Bernie Mac say, when we break.
Right? And it's like, I don't feel like dealing with any of this today. I'm just going to come in, I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to leave. Hey, so-and-so, do you want to come to this house? It's like, no. I have my friends that I'm hanging out with. I got brunch on Sunday. I'm doing Sunday Fun Day. So we naturally, a lot of times, will just go to work, come back. So in a subjective performance review, things like he might be antisocial.
Right.
When in actuality, he just doesn't have anything to talk to you about.
Right.
Right? Because you grew up differently. And so companies need to start analyzing their hiring practices, analyzing those performance reviews, analyzing their promotion cycles, right? There are quotas that you have to hit. If we have a team of 4 sellers that are client facing, the most important part of any organization, and there are no Black people, there are no women, then what are you giving off to other companies as well? Don't get a forward-thinking company, they're gonna ask. Right. I was working for Office Depot. They have a Black CMO. And the first thing she asked one of our principals when we walked in is, she's like, where are the women on the team? Not even the Black woman. She's like, where are the women on the team? Oh, well, I mean, you know, once we get the deal, we make sure that a woman's staff. Now you're stumbling.
Right.
Why you don't trust them to go pitch to a Fortune 5 company? Right? We have women in the firm. Why didn't we trust them to come with us? Right. And so now they're more conscious. They're understanding these things. And people are, but there's still more work to do, right? Like, I love the meme that's like, we didn't ask for you to change Aunt Jemima.
Right. Yeah.
Getting rid of the imagery. right? Banning the Confederate flag. Growing up in South Carolina, loved it. But this isn't what we're asking for.
Right.
We're asking for equality. Right. I'm asking for more blacks in executive positions. I'm asking for tech companies to peel back the layers and not just hide behind a cloud of diversity that doesn't truly exist. We're asking for justice, right? The killers of Breonna Taylor are still free.
Absolutely.
So all of this is well and good, but we still have work to do.
Absolutely. So what do you think about, you talked about, some of these things that these companies, corporations are doing, what we're seeing, some things civically as well about, flags, statues and stuff like that being taken down. What are your thoughts on that? I know that, that some folks feel like this is such a, monumental move and gesture to make towards, them saying, that Black Lives Matter or understanding our cry for equality and justice, as you mentioned. But what are your thoughts on some of the moves that have been made?
Yeah, so I think the moves that are being made are the baby step that needs to happen to open people's eyes. And for example, right, like the Redskins, which is now the Washington football team. If you look at, like, I'm literally watching Get Up on ESPN, seeing the logo, and I'm like, how has this been the logo for so long, right? It just it feels crazy. And now people are getting to the point where they're humanizing the actions. So they see Aunt Jemima and they don't see syrup. They see the lady who's on there. Where did it come from? They want to know the backstory. They see the Washington Redskins is not just a battle cry. We understand that, John Wayne in the movies called the Indians Redskins.
Right.
And they also see Indians and say they're not Indians, they're Native Americans.
Right.
And they're able to put themselves in those shoes. It's like, what would you, I remember Bomani Jones, when they were talking about the Cleveland Indians changing their name. He went on ESPN and wore the shirt that said Caucasians with that logo. And everybody's like, whoa. He's like, if I'm Native American, every game there's 50,000 people in the middle of downtown Cleveland doing this exact thing, having this exact reaction. So I believe that it's a necessary step. I think the way that you really overcome, just like, and we all know this, is through the economy, right? Through economics, socioeconomics. How do we get more businesses to bank with black banks? How do we get more, economic status into our community so that we can give back the right way? And that's where it needs to change. And I think that we've known this for quite some time, and they've known this for quite some time. That's why.
They've known a lot for quite some time, but just never cared to make the change, right?
Right.
So
that's why.
And not until now, like you said, attention is being brought to it. Everybody has undivided attention now, given where we are. I want to go back to something you said about, you talked about the Washington Redskins with because of a bunch of stuff that's going on with them right now. So it's crazy when you hear about all the stuff that's going on. But I will say that also there's another gentleman who, I think he was in New York. He also wore this shirt that said Caucasians, and it looked like the Washington Redskins logo, but he had Caucasians on it, right? And people were giving him all kind of dirty looks,
How dare you?
So it was just amazing the response that he got from that, and those people not really feeling like, oh, what they're doing is wrong, right? Like what having the Redskins or having the Indians or what have you as a name or what have you is wrong. And it's just very interesting. With you talking about all of that and keeping it on the Washington Redskins, I want to get your take on what's happening with them as it relates to, there's a lot of ladies that came out and talked about the atmosphere, the culture that the organization seems to have had as it relates to women. It being one where I guess there's a lot of fire activity kind of stuff going on at these places. They say that the owner and the president didn't know or weren't, let me say this, that they weren't charged or, any allegations against those two individuals. But they claim that those folks must have known. And when you think about some of the stuff that they dealt with in the past, I know about 5 or 6 years ago, they had a situation where they invited some cheerleaders down to do a photo shoot. And the photo shoot, the cheerleaders were topless, and they paid some of the VIPs, or some season ticket holders, some VIPs, or what have you, paid money to go down and participate in this event. Allow some of the cheerleaders to be selected to come and party with those particular people, and all of this. And so you go through that type of scandal, and then come back, and now you got this that's come out. All these women from the organization have come out and said what they have said about it. What are your thoughts on that? For them, the owner, or the organization themselves, and for those ladies that have gone through that.
Yeah, I think that it's heinous, honestly. And anytime you use your position of power to do things, it's cowardice in my eyes, right? Like, why do you have to put this? You're only doing this because you know that you have the power over them. You have control. 100%. I control your paycheck. I control your family's earnings, what goes on their table, your dreams, your aspirations. And so I'm going to take from you what I want. And it's going to be fun for us because we're frat boy culture. Like, I worked in a company that had a frat boy culture, changed CEOs, everything changed. And to the point where even, their partners who we were on company retreats that would make traditional jokes and be like, oh, I can't say that anymore. I can't say that anymore. So that culture just exists. And in sports, you're not policed because you're entertainment. You don't have to answer to a board of directors. You don't have shareholders, right? Dan Snyder owns the Skins. And the crazy thing about it is, you look at Jerry Richardson. The allegations against Jerry Richardson and Carolina Panthers are far less than what's going on with the Washington football team right now. And he sold the team immediately. And now they have, I'm from Carolina, a huge Panthers fan. So like David Tepper comes in forward thinking they're doing so many things from a tech innovation standpoint in the NFL, diversity and inclusion standpoint as well, giving back to Charlotte, giving back to the city. So they're just a much better organization today than they were with Jerry Richardson. Dan Snyder, the NFL's already come out and said that they're not going to pressure him to sell the team. And it's like, if he has the money, he can just say, I didn't know. Whereas Joe Paterno at Penn State, all the stuff was happening with Jerry Sandusky. He got fired because of lack of institutional control. How is that any different than what Rick Pitino, right? They had the strippers at Louisville. Lack of institutional control. How is that any different than right now, Dan Snyder, you're the owner, and you don't know what's going on? No, you know exactly what's going on. That culture permeates it, right? In management consulting, we say all the time, corporate strategy starts at the top and disseminates down.
Absolutely.
And so if you as a CEO don't have core values, if those core values aren't posted, if people aren't being assessed to those core values in their performance reviews, if they're not talking about it on a weekly basis, guess what? The culture that you present is disseminating through that organization. And they had a heinous, gross culture.
And it's probably one reason why the organization hasn't had any success as
Definitely,
well.
Right? Where you got allegations of coaches benching starting running backs because they were messing with the same woman. And then the next play, the backup misses the block and ruins your starting quarterback's career.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy how a lot of that stuff has happened and how it all played. It almost sounds like movie-like.
Feels like
something like you watch on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Like another Sunday. What's that movie? I forgot.
Any Given Sunday?
Any Given Sunday. That's almost like that's
Yeah.
Willie Beeman and LA were fighting, but it's crazy to see this kind of stuff goes on.
But actually a good show to watch and really assess your internal feelings about how you feel about this type of misconduct in the workplace is The Morning Show. It's on Apple TV Plus. Reese Witherspoon, Steve Carell, so great cast, great show. But it essentially it takes on kind of the Harvey Weinstein incident, whereas they're morning show hosts and then there's some misconduct. But to the anchor, it didn't feel like misconduct. It just felt like he was just a bad human sleeping, you know what I mean, stepping outside of his marriage.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Okay.
everything I perceived this to be was consensual. I never took anything.
See, okay, so now this brings me to interesting, and I'm glad you're saying that, because here's my thoughts on that from this perspective. From, you know, when you're talking about it, I'm only gonna look at it from one side, but you know, I think it's terrible that if it happens, you're absolutely right. Like, everybody should be thrown out, you know, clean up the whole organization, you know, top to bottom, the whole nine. You're right. I do think Dan Snyder knows if it's in his organization, built on, you know, the culture, especially given the history that they have and stuff like that.
Just think about the response for Dan Snyder. No one's condemned it. Every single person that's come out and said, we must be better.
Right.
When has that ever been the case?
Right. Well, see, my thing is removing Dan Snyder, removing his response or anything like that. My question is around the particular issue of the activity that's going on, inappropriate behavior, right? Like, when, you know, for me, I've always questioned, even since I was young, when, let's say, a woman, a girl who might allege that a guy did anything to her, right? You know, my issue with that has always been, well, you know, what if it's not true, right? So when it's not true, what happens? Because, see, for me, coming from being an athlete, and that never happened to me or anything like that, but if it happened, like, there have been stories of athletes where that has happened, and people in their lives where that has happened, and it not been true.
Right.
There are young men who've gone to jail, served years in prison for a crime they never committed. Like, I'm just talking about in this particular instance. Like, there's one guy who lost out on, two guys that I know about that lost out on their NFL careers potentially because a woman had came out and alleged that, you know, the white girl alleged that she raped him when she didn't, when he didn't, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So my whole issue with the whole movement is, I want them to also speak about when those women who also committed those false accusations and ruined somebody's life because of that. Because my issue with the whole thing is that, you know, when you make that allegation, especially if it's been, a lot of times it's been, you know, years or even if right then, it's you against that person. Period.
Yeah, and that's all it is.
And they're gonna believe the woman, you know, 9 times out of 10. Yeah. Right? They're gonna believe the woman, and that's it. And so for me, that's the part that I feel like is unfair. Now, do I think if that act happened, if it's true, and somebody did something, they should be held accountable. You're absolutely right. Like, I'm not an advocate for that at all. Let's just be clear. But I'm also not an advocate for, I don't think it's cool that when women make those type of allegations and the man is innocent. Because the moment that you say that, that's it. That's it for that person. The moment that comes out, it's over for him, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that we have to educate our men the best way we can, to have them understand they can't put themselves in a situation to ever even be questioned. And like, I know, for an example, right, the Sean Oakman story that just came out, where he lost out on draft picks and everything, and she said, I was lying. There has to be accountability both ways. If that is the case, and you do come out and say that you're lying, then I believe that you should face some type of accountability similar to what this person had to face innocently.
Absolutely.
The other piece of it is, because we understand that this can happen, the same way that we talk to our black boys about interacting with the police is the same way we have to talk to all men about their interactions with women. And even today, or just partners, if you're gay, your interaction with another man, because it's no different, right? And there's always a dominant person in any partnership. And if you express and you act on that dominance, then you're putting yourself in a tough situation. And whether that dominance is you're less drunk than she is, whether it's you play football and she's a normal student, you have to truly educate them from a young age to be cognizant of every situation that they're in. Because even if you're, you know, when I say dominant, like, if you're that dominant person you have to be responsible enough to act accordingly. Because you're not going to be able to use the defense of, I didn't know either.
Right.
Right?
I didn't know either.
I was also blacked out.
Right.
Were you?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, man. I think it should be held both ways. And I mean, you're right. It starts, from that perspective, it definitely starts in the beginning. And I mean, those are definitely conversations I know I have with my son all the time. Tell him, hey, man, you got to be mindful going into situations. Think about what you're going into. Thinking about, who you're interacting with, how you're interacting with these people. Not that it's with a woman or whatever, but any situation, really.
And I think that there's another tough conversation for us as men to have with our women and just say, I know this might be hard for you, but I could probably help more lives if you explain to me a situation where you even just uncomfortable. Walk me through it. Because coming from a male perspective, I might have thought about it totally different.
Right. We do. So there's no might. That's what happens.
And so
that's exactly what happens.
And you listening and you hearing that story from someone you love, you're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is real. And now you can talk to, when you see that behavior from your boys, you can, whoa, man, you might want to chill out. When you're just talking, hey, man, you might need to talk about this. I heard a story, don't use names.
Right,
I heard a story where this happened. This person is good. This really hit home to me. I'd encourage you to do the same thing. So
I got you. Well, it makes sense, man. So, well, Chris, man, tell us, like, how can, some of our people, listeners that may want to engage, want me to reach out, get up with you at Wiseline, you use your services or inquire anyway.
Yeah.
Where can they do that?
They can always, so wiseline.com is our website. We have some form fills, demos, and things. If you're looking for any type of digital platform, if you know a CTO that's doing anything, reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I think it's linkedin.com-n-Christopher Jenkins 2. And it's spelled just like Christopher Jenkins. So, so yeah, that's how you can connect with me. And then also, me and one of my buddies in Atlanta, we have if you just want to get away from the real world every now and then, we have a podcast, and you can listen on any major network. It's called The Bottomless Truth. CD and Juice. We have a couple beverages.
Okay. All right.
Have a little more real talk.
Yeah, absolutely. When do you do that?
It drops every Thursday.
Okay.
So, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, you name it. Just The Bottomless Truth with CD and Juice.
Okay.
Guaranteed laughs and some interesting thoughts and comments.
All right.
Smart guys get drunk and all kind of stuff
come out. Well, that's cool stuff, man. Well, Chris, man, thank you so much for coming on today, man. It's truly been a joy and a pleasure having you on, man, and talking about all the things that we've had to talk and share. I hope our listeners have learned some things, and if they want to reach out, y'all feel free to reach out, man. We're listening to the Cutting Edge right here on Edge Radio. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. We'll see y'all then. Peace.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FineHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FineHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to FineHealthBenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement.